Moving on, we need to do a summary. There's good news here. We still have 10 knowledge areas. There is no new knowledge area. We still have 5 process groups. Yes, from initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing. Yes. But now, number of processes is not the same. Now we are talking about 49 processes. It is not just adding 2 processes. We look at the details coming. Actually, PMI used to have in edition 5, 47 processes. They added 3 new processes. And there is one process that was retired, one omitted process merged, so the result is 49 processes. Now, there were 2 processes renamed, two knowledge areas renamed. Time management is now called scheduling management. It's more stress on scheduling and the concept, and as you know, there is another certificate by PMI called Scheduling Professional, SP, PMI SP. Also, human resources management was renamed to be resources management, which makes it more in a wider concept to maintain or to include all resources in the project. As you know, we use human resources, and they are precious to the project. They are very important. They are expensive also, and we use other resources in the project, like equipment, like tools, places, rooms, whatever that you are using as a resource for your project. So now we are talking about a wider concept. We're talking about resources management. Moving on, we used to talk about something called ITTOs, and there is a big stress on that because many of the exam or expected questions talk about, is this document an input or output? Is it a tool for such a process or such a process group? Now in the ITTOs we're talking about minor changes, but of course you need to take a look and see it. Also about the new book, I tried also to give a summary of what amount of pages are we going to read actually. We're talking here about around 639 pages. If you download the full edition from PMI website, it will be like 1,000 pages. But anyway, that's including the Agile manual and also lots of appendices. So not all of this is you're supposed to read. Anyway, it's around this amount of reading. Some of the main concepts were changed. We need to take a look at them. Starting with stakeholders engagement. Some people used to talk about stakeholder management. Now, in the new edition, now we're talking more, or there's a shift in the trend that we are talking mainly about the engagement of the stakeholders. Actually, if you look at it, those stakeholders are very key to the project. They are sometimes very high in rank and chain of command. Sometimes they are in the top of the organization, big managers in the organizations. So those people you do not manage actually. You are only managing their engagement in the project. Anyway, procurement practices. PMI is trying to, let's say, widen its practice focus. So now we are talking about the international practices for procurement, more than just only the North America kind of procurement systems. Communication. There is a very clear distinguish between project communications and project communication management. I hope that you are able to distinguish between both of these. The first one is, we're talking about project communications. There's an S at the end of it. We're talking here about the documents, about the letters, the emails, the calls, the phone calls, the mobile calls, whatever communication you're using in your project. These are project communications. Now, on the other hand, when you say project communication management, you're talking about the process for managing the communication and the project. Risk management also, there is a shift in the concept, more into to be wider, to include also managing the overall risk in the project, not only the event-driven risk. As when you say rain will have an impact on the raw material of the project, of my construction project, for example, the very well-known example for risk. This is an event-driven. There is a trigger for that event. Anyway, if you think about the whole project, the risk that can be on the project level, this is now also in focus. Relationship between project manager and business analyst also. There is more emphasis on that. As you know, a project manager is sometimes a generalist, we call him. He's a jack of all trades. He has a strong background in one field, but anyway, he's not an expert in all of the fields that he is managing, actually. So the business analyst is more into the details of the requirements, scope also. So there is a stress on the relationship between those two. Going a little bit into details, there are three added processes. First, manage project knowledge. For a long time, as you recall, we used to talk about process assets, project records, lessons learned. All this was supposed to go at the end of the project to a big library, which is the process assets library, organizational process assets. Anyway, now in 6th edition we have an explicit process to do that, which is knowledge management. Yes, the knowledge coming from the project, the lessons, the records, the measures, everything needs to be handled in a process formally to make sure that other projects are benefiting from, and also to make sure that me as a project manager, I am looking at the knowledge coming from other projects as historical records to make benefit of it, not to make the same mistakes again, as we say always. Second is implement risk response. As you recall, the risk processes, we used to plan for risk management, we used to identify risks, analyze risk in both qualitative and quantitative, and we used to plan for response and control risk. Okay, there is a missing step. There always been a missing step. We used to cover it and control risk. We used to say controlling risk means also you go and do follow-up on risk responses. Are they being implemented or not? Or also in the risk audit. But now we have this explicit process to make sure that we do a plan and we do also implement these risk responses in our project. It is a long waiting gap actually. The third one added process is control project resources. Now having the name changed from human resources to resources, now we are able more to use this word. We can say control resources, control project resources. Anyway, there was one deleted the process also, as we said, close procurement. Actually, this process was merged with the integration management close project or phase process. There is also one process moved from time management to resources management. Can you guess which process is that? Anyway, we're talking here about estimate activity resources process. Estimate activity resources, as you know, it used to be in time management. We used to estimate activity resources and activity duration. Now, duration is more related to time, but resources is more related to project resources, so it moved there now.